Joining us on the phone now, our Senator Bill Cassidy from here in Louisiana. Thanks for joining us here on American Ground Radio.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you for having me.
So I noticed over the weekend, President Donald Trump tweeted out, hey, we got to get working on this healthcare thing, and one of the 4 people on the entire planet that he tagged in that tweet was you. He wants you to get working on the healthcare thing. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. I've actually been working on healthcare since I got to Washington, D.C. And so when the president wants me involved, one, I always want to help our president, but 2, I'm particularly glad to help him on healthcare.
Now, for folks that don't know, you are a physician. You've worked in healthcare. You've worked in a lot of different capacities in healthcare. What has that insight given you that gives you an idea of what to do to fix the system we currently have?
Well, and to give a little color to what you just said, for 25 years I worked in Louisiana's charity hospital system, and my patients typically were either uninsured or on Medicaid. And then I had a small private practice, and that private practice, you just can't help noticing, but that patients struggle to pay even if they have private insurance. So it was kind of the breadth of families trying to make ends meet while they took care of their health. Now, when you look at that, you quickly find out that if the patient has the power, the system lines up to serve the patient. So my question is, and the Republican question is, how do you give the patient the power? That's what we've been working on, giving the patient knowledge of price transparency so that she can know that it's cheaper to go to this place to get her child's x-ray as opposed to that place. Eliminating gag clauses so the pharmacist can tell the patient it's cheaper to pay cash than it is to go through their insurance. We now have that in law, and that was pharmacists and patients talking to me about that. It's along those lines, let's give the patient the power.
What's going on right now, Senator, in Congress with respect to Obamacare? I'm reading all these headlines that say Republicans steamroll Trump on Obamacare, forcing him to punt plans to repeal and replace Obamacare into 2021 after the 2020 elections. What's going on?
Well, first, both parties want Obamacare replaced. Now, Republicans, as I say, want the patient to have the power, but Democrats clearly want the government to have power over the patient. What do I mean by that? Well, Republicans, again, want to do things such as price transparency, but Democrats want to force Medicare for all. So if you like your health care plan that you have now, you're out of luck. Doesn't matter. You give that up, ripped away from you, and you're put into Medicare. Problem, Medicare is going bankrupt in 10 years. Think about that. We're going to put 150 million people, most of whom are pretty satisfied with their employer-sponsored insurance, and put them into Medicare, which is going bankrupt. So those who actually need it won't have it. Medicare for all is Medicare for none. So the debate isn't about whether or not Obamacare has problems. The left and right agree on that. The question is, what is our path forward?
All right, so why punt it until after the 2020 elections if it's so critical?
David, Nancy Pelosi's not going to bring up a Republican plan. I mean, my gosh, the only plan she will bring up will be socialism. It isn't going to be, well, let's give the patient the power. So as long as Pelosi is the speaker, any Republican plan will not get through the House of Representatives. And so I think the president's being quite strategic.
So essentially what you're saying is that there's now going to be a campaign between now and 2020 that if you want to fix health care, the only way to fix health care in this country is to flip the House back to the Republicans. Is that right?
And the Democrats would say the only way to fix health care, to force Medicare for all on people, is to take the Senate and to elect a Democratic president. So there will be that debate going forward. Do you want kind of patient-centered plans, or do you want where the bureaucrat tells you what to do? The VA is a great system, but imagine everybody being in the VA, because the government will control everything lock, stock, and barrel. So that's the choice before the American people, and that's the debate we're going to have.
Are you going to put out a plan? I remember back in the 1990s in the Contract for America with Newt Gingrich. Are you guys going to put out something similar to that level of detail for the American people, that as we go into 2020 and we're trying to figure out whether we want to go with the Democrat Medicare for All plan, you know, the criticism that you'll hear on the left is that the Republicans have no plan. Are you going to put out something that people can look at, and when they go into the voting booth, they can say, this looks a lot better than that?
Couple things. Whether or not there will be a so-called contract with America, that I've not heard discussion of that, which is not to say there won't be, but just no discussion so far. But as regards what Republicans hope to do, a lot of that which we hope to do will be accomplished this Congress. And we think it will set the stage for further improvements going forward. I mentioned already price transparency. That benefits you if you're on Medicare, on commercial insurance. Lowering drug prices. President's incredibly committed to this. I'm personally working closely with the administration on this. That benefits the taxpayer if the taxpayer paying for the Medicaid program, but benefits the Medicare beneficiary, those in commercial insurance, and those paying cash. So, surprise medical billing. You go to the emergency room when you're on a trip and get this bill, you can't believe how much it costs. Oh my gosh, can't believe how much it costs. So we're also trying to address that. Those are the foundations. Addressing these issues will be the foundational stones, if you will, of a system going forward that works for the patient as opposed to attempts to control the patient.
Oh, absolutely.
Senator Bill Cassidy, thank you so much for joining us here on American Ground Radio. We really appreciate you taking time out to talk to us about healthcare this week.
Thank you, gentlemen.